Let's have a little review on what last week might be. So we come to, it looks, I recognize a few people who are new. Maybe it's very complicated for you about to the topic. If you have no any other a basic structure of the Abhidharma we study, okay. The Abhidharma what we are going to talk about, actually we are almost end of the book already. So the Abhidharma that we are studying actually is the Abhidharma called the Sarvastivada school. If anybody doesn't have the idea what is Sarvastivada, in Chinese it's called Soi Chui You Bu. But the word Sarva, okay, Sarva in Sanskrit or in Pali is called Sabba. So Sarva Asti, it means Sabba Ati. If it translates into Pali, it means Sabba Ati Vada or Sarva Asti Vada. So from the name itself, it's very clear. It's a school that believes that the Dharma in a way means the elements, what we call it. Sometimes I translate the Dharma as elements. The elements, it doesn't mean there are 4 elements, but anything that either the material thing or either, basically mean basically I would say the Dharma means the elements of phenomena exist all the time, okay? Which is actually a very unique idea, as well as, of course, especially this kind of school has, anyway, this school is very popular in those days, but now we don't have this school exist anymore in India or any other country. But if you look at the history, especially if you look at from a Chinese history or any Buddhism history, certainly this is one of the biggest school as a Hinayana school, as one of the biggest Hinayana school, okay? That's why we study this text because for several reasons. We study this school for several reasons. One reason is that because this school, especially if you study anything about Mahayana Buddhism, that has either they agree or disagree, or either they have borrowed something from Abhidharma. They all actually highly influenced by this school. That's the reason why you can to learn this school, serve it as almost like a basic, or the foundation for you to understand. And that's one thing. The second thing is also Sarvastivada school also have a very unique path system. I mean, if people who are here understand very well about the Pali system, might be highly influenced by the Pali system, but then actually Sarvastivada school also have a unique kind of system of the path. I mean, all the Hinayana school trying to introduce the Abhidharma. Of course, the Abhidharma in earlier time was not just a theory, but the Abhidharma was for practice reasons. Now, I need to rephrase this word again. When I say practice, mean meditation reason. In Buddhism, when you say practice, mean meditation. There's no any argue about that. But the problem is when you translate it, and then people have a different understanding. If you look at the Sanskrit word, it's very clear. When you say practice, mean meditation, okay? So, for the practice reasons, and this school have a very unique system, particularly highly emphasis on understanding of Four Noble Truths, okay? And of course, without excluding, I mean, in other words, including what the most popular ones like the 5 aggregates, the 12 bases, the 18 elements, and as well as what we call this, and then the understanding of the dangers of the elements, and then also renouncing the elements, as well as understand the ceasing of the elements, and so on, up to that perceiving of the dependent arisings. But the dependent arising actually for this school, the main reason the dependent arising for this school, it was not aimed as the end or as the end of the path, but it just served as the way to understand the Four Noble Truths. Okay, very clear for this school. Anyway, beside this one also we must understand why. One other reason is not only because the path system is unique or different from the Pali. From the Pali system, the path system. But it also actually, this school is also, whenever you study any like Tibetan school or even Chinese school, there are so many terminology. Of course, in Mahayana, they may have a different way to interpret it, whatever. I'm not here to say about that at the moment. But all terminology, they all borrow from this school. So that's the reason in other words, if you understand the school well, sometimes you also understand why the Mahayana argue certain position. Either because they want to defend as a bodhisattva path, or either because they just wanted to actually add some material in that kind of concept. Okay, so for those reasons, why this study this Sarvastivada school is very important. In other words, serve as the basics to understand the root of the Mahayana. You could say it that way. And also, it's another Abhidharma system which is unique, which is different from a Pali, okay, Abhidharma. All right, and then in this Sarvastivada school, there are several main texts that are very popular. Of course, everyone knows that when you learn the Buddhism, so you have so-called the Tripitaka, the three canons, the Sutta canons, the Vinaya canons, that means the discipline canons, or monastic code canon, and then you have the canon of the so-called the Abhidharma canon. Okay. Now in Pali also the same thing. When you study the Pali Abhidharma, so you have the canon, Abhidharma canons. They also have 7 volumes of it, like Dhammasangani, like Arthasalini, and then you have Pukkala Panyati, and so on. And those are the Pali canons. And then the Sarvastivada also, they also have 7 different canons, which almost don't share the common to the Pali. So like we have the Dharmaskanda, for example, Dharmaskanda Sastra, I think, I can, yeah, and so on. So maybe I just give you we don't have the board, but it's okay. You have to understand the canon have 2 ways, okay? One is the canon which is the Pali, they may share the same sutta, like what we call the Nikaya in Pali, and then what you call in Chinese called Agama, okay? There were 2. And then you have this Vinaya, they are almost share the same thing, that you have the Vinaya, but of course there's a slight difference, like in Pali you have the Vinaya, so-called the Pali Vinaya, say what they call the Vinaya. But in also other schools like Sarvastivada schools also have the Vinaya. They almost share the same number, but I think the Chinese so-called now you have in Chinese, or maybe actually recently also found the similar school called Mula Sarvastivada Vinaya. All kind of like 就是根本说一切，根本说一切律哈。So Mula Sarvastivada Vinaya also share the same similar. What I want to say that the Vinaya are very similar, but they have about 240, 49 or 48, depends on the school. But the Pali have 227. Okay, so they don't have much difference. But the very different is Abhidharma. Okay, that's the reason why for scholarly study is they understand actually it is the Abhidharma. It is very clear from the Abhidharma perspective. You can see they are different. I know, because they hold different Abhidharma. Anyway, we have that long discussion in the past. I don't know how much you remember. But anyway, just want to know that, and all the same thing in the Tripitaka means the 3 canons, the very different Abhidharma is so-called is, Abhidharma so-called is, there are 7 canons of the Sarvastivada school, the 7 Sastra, means 7 literature, and then also 7 literature in Pali, okay? Understand it? So when you study Sarvastivada Abhidharma, so you cannot think it away like the Pali system. They share some similarity there, but they are different. I want to say that, okay? And what else? But the book we're learning called this entrance into the Abhidharma. Actually, the same name, you have what they call the Abhidharma Avatara. Okay, the word Avatara means entrance. So like people who study the Tibetan Buddhism, they know Lu Pusa Xin. Actually, the same name like Bodhisattva Avatara. Avatara means entrance into what? Okay, the same name. So the name here is entrance into Abhidharma. So which is written. The one that we study is written by the Skandila, okay, and it wasn't really very popular in the past because I guess people cannot relate the name of the person who is Skandila. Only just recent scholar found out that actually Skandila, it's basically the teachers of the Vasubandhu, and then also the Sanghabhatra, 众贤跟世亲哈。 So, and they are the two, everybody know they are the two great Abhidharmika. So, and this book serves as a manual. Actually, even if you look at the Pali, even though nowadays nobody read that one, in the Pali also you have exactly the same name text called Abhidharmavatara too. One is a Sanskrit name Abhidharma, one is a Pali name Abhidharmavatara. Anyway, but nowadays if you study the Abhidharma in the Pali system, so you will read someone that written in the 11th century. So by Anuruddha, called Abhidhamma Adasangaha, that's a Pali system. And that's how almost like a manual for everyone when you want to study the Abhidhamma in the Pali system. But in the so-called Sarasvati school, of course, it's also still very popular to study, but they don't begin with this book. As I said, even this text was translated during the 7th century by the renowned scholar, the monk called Xuanzhuang, right? Even though that, but nobody recognizes what it is. And but everybody knows there's a text called Abhidhamma Kosa, okay? So because either in the Tibetan tradition or either even in the Chinese tradition, if you study Abhidhamma, they always begin to learn from the Abhidhamma Kosa. But in Abhidhamma Kosa also you have the whole Abhidhamma Kosa or the verses of Abhidhamma Kosa, because the Abhidhamma Kosa firstly were written in the verse. And then later on it been explained by, again by the same author, the Vasubandhu, in more detailed. Okay. All right, so that's a basic understanding what it is text is about from the historical perspective. And then second is that this Abhidhamma divided into 5 what we call wupin in Chinese, or you could say the 5 classes. Okay, in Pali you divide it into 4 classes to study Abhidhamma, but 5 groups or 5 classes. And here this one is divided into 5 classes. Now it's my time now. I'm very happy to ask question. Which 5 classes are they? Should I say a word in Chinese? Mean 就是说一些有部，就把这个阿毗达摩分成5品来谈，哪5品？ Yeah.
Is it the 5 paths? No?
No. You can translate in many ways, but I want to know what are these 5. Give me one at least, and I know whether you're in the... Huh?
You want an example of the 5 paths? That I don't have.
What, like generosity, sila?
No. Divide into 5 classes. When you study Abhidhamma, you have to understand there's a structure, a very general structure there.
Oh, okay.
And even the book, every different Abhidhamma text maybe have a different way to arrange it.
From the 5 aggregates, like Rupa?
Yeah, that's one. That's true. So one is the Rupa. And the Rupa, that means material is one of the class of the 5 classes. And then?
Feeling?
Mental factors.
So you're talking about then, it's feeling, Vedana, right? No?
Vedana is included in what category? Feelings.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, in mind, in chitta, right? Consciousness. Feelings.
Okay.
Non-material, okay. Material.
That's right. The material one, and then is the non-material ones, you mean. Okay. So all you can understand as a formation. So, and then what else? And third one?
Condition disjoint from the mind and the divine.
Okay. Okay, conditionally disjoint from the mind is one, or called the formation disjoint from the mind is one. 心不相应行 in Chinese. And what about other 2?
Matter mind.
Okay, matter is one. Matter is one, mind is one, and then
心相印形啊conjoined.
no. All everything is there's no 心相印形 such a word. No. 心不相印形 yes. So they have one is the mind, the formation, the disconjoint from the mind, and what else? What are the two? You have to always remember the structure. It's very. Otherwise, you will get confused. Anyone?
Mental factor.
Yeah, mental factor. 摘的是个心所，心所。No. 心 and 心所 is two different things. Even though it belongs to the mind, but and then 心所 that means the mental factors, or sometimes we translate mind concomitant. One more. Yeah, okay, nibbana. So there are 5, right? What about Pali? How many are they? Yeah, 4 of them. Which one is excluded? Or which one is not in the Pali?
Disjointed.
No, disjointed.
Yeah, the Dhamma, the formation disjoined from the mind. And why I want to mention this, because anyway, those are that you have to understand, those are the main structure of the Abhidharma. Means they always talk Abhidharma under, it's maybe easier way to study in this way. It has to talk about material. It has to discuss about what kind of minds are there. And then we'll have to discuss what kind of mind association, or sometimes we translate mind factors, or sometimes we translate as mind concomitant, 心所, okay? And then we have to discuss about the Nibbana, okay? But in Pali it's very clear, just one Nibbana, okay? But in the Sarvastivada we talk about 4 types of Nibbana, okay? So, and then in the Sarvastivada, which is very unique, it doesn't exist this in other schools. Say that nowadays it's very popular to study the Abhidharma through the Pali system. Say that the Pali doesn't have this one. It's what we're going to talk actually today, or even last week. Not last week. Before the class, we do have that. We did talk about a little bit. That is mean the 心不相应行, mean the formation disjoint from the mind. Okay, and which is actually the very unique, and it's also highly attacked by all other schools too. But it's interesting when they say all other schools is highly attacked, but at the same time, because it's highly influenced by Sarvastivada school, but indirectly also many, even Mahayana Buddhism also accepted this kind of system. They might discuss about it. It's not totally reject the existence of this kind of concept called the formation disconjoint from the mind. Okay, now let's back to the topic now. What does mean by disconjoint from the mind? Anyone? Okay, it's very easy. You don't have to read the book. It means it doesn't belong to the mind. It has to be dissociated from the mind. Okay, in Buddhist concept, even the matter of anything has to be associated with the mind. Okay, but that's one way. That's why I mean the formation, a kind of Dhamma. Formation here means the conditionality or conditionings that is not associated with the mind. Okay.
Is this the same as looking at something objectively instead of subjectively?
No. That's why we're going to look at this later. Okay. So and then they don't have to be. They don't associate with the mind. You could say it that way. But that's one way, is maybe narrow way of understanding it. Maybe the better way to understand it mean it definitely is no association with the matter. Okay, it has no association with the matter, because to Buddhism, when you talk about the matter, it always had association with the mind too. You have to understand that. Okay, that's a Buddhist concept. The Buddhist concept never, when you talk about matter, then you do not bring in the concept of the mind. Okay, so it has nothing to do with the, basically when it doesn't associate with the matter for sure. But when the Dhamma, when the kind of topic we're describing, purely mental, this kind of the elements of the Dhamma could appear. Okay, get it now?
I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
That's why you don't get distracted so much. So, but it's very easy to say this. Like when I say my eyes, okay, it's a form, right? It's a matter. Of course, for nowadays the science of people thinking, when you say the eyes, you think this is a matter. But the Buddhism never stopped there. When you say the eyes, you have to always understand there must be the eye consciousness, okay? So almost, that's how, and the eye consciousness and the eye function, they have to be dependent each other. Basically, the eyes and the eye consciousness. So that's how we understand. In other words, let's say I see a thing. When you say I see, the eyes, the main thing of the eye is to see a thing, right? To see a picture. But in Buddhist understanding, of course, without analyzing it, even you must understand, it never be like, I see a picture is because on matter only. It must have to do with the consciousness. Without a consciousness, you cannot see a thing. So that's why I say, even though you talk about a matter, but then the mind should be always there, right? This is why that you could say, even though we don't have a term called associate with the mind, but it's almost like imply that everything in the matter also, whatever anything elements it has to associate with the mind, okay? Okay, that's very clear to understand that. But even though it never be taught in this way. But the thing is, there's a kind of Dhamma, which this is unique in this school, that it doesn't associate, that's why this conjoined from the mind. However, you have to understand it in a way, not because they are just not associated with the mind. No, not. I think that will be a totally, this is not a very good definition. The best to understand is that, in other words, when the mind only exists, this Dhamma will exist only when the mind is taking place. Okay.
Repeat that, please.
It's pure mental. It's just mental state.
Yeah, it's pure mental, but it's not mental, and it's not matter. Okay. Yeah.
So is it observing something without personalizing it, or saying I am seeing this, or I am hearing this?
No, we are going to talk this later. Here. No. It's actually the first one we learn is the prapti, the acquisition. Here, the translation. The in Chinese. So the acquisition say, I got a knowledge. Okay. I got the knowledge. I gain. I have, or I perceive, or I gain the knowledge. The gain. That is not material for sure. But you also, according to this school, it is not also belong to the mind. But it has to be function in the mind.
The mind is processing it, but it's not possessing it or internalizing it. I'm not sure.
No. I know, and that's why I say it's very complicated, this issue. Maybe easier to say this. No, but just remember the definition first, okay? And then now we need to back to this another one. I think this is the prapti, and prapti means the acquisition and non-acquisition is very tough to talk about because that's also controversial. Maybe we can move to the third one first. The third one say called, here translate ideation. I think it's called ideation, right? Let me look at it. No. The idealess, ideationless. So 4.6.3, right? Asamyich samabati, for example. So this is as the third one. Look at it. Generally, this is if you look at the definition. I suppose you have to read it first. So when generally it means that you see when you do meditation, this is purely mind. Okay, the mind is included in the formation. Okay, according to Abhidharma system, right? Everyone have no question about that. Have you any question? No, it's in the formation. Samskara in Sanskrit, okay, or samkara in Pali. So that always in the formation. So, but this one, according to this school, it's not Pali. Pali never talk about it. Pali reject the talk about this. The asamyi samabati is a kind of meditation state. The meditation state that you come to that stage, you don't have idea. Your thought would not arise. Okay, that's called this kind of, anyway, this here translates ideationless. Okay, idea would not arise. And this kind of meditation state appear when you are good at 4 jhana, but you are in the 3rd jhana and 4th jhana in between. Of course, this is debatable. Different schools have a little different debate about that. So anyway, in other words, here is in between when you detach yourself from the 3rd jhana and then you enter in the 4th jhana. So there's a state place. If you want to, then you can stay in that kind of the place. It's not 3rd jhana, it's not 4th jhana, okay? Everyone know what is 3rd jhana and 4th jhana here, right? Huh? Hello? Anyway, it's a kind of meditation state. You have the 2 chang, 2 chang, 3 chang, 4 chang. I mean, you can enter the 1st jhana, the 2nd jhana, and 3rd jhana, and 4th jhana, right?
What about your own experience? Did you kind of were able to experience?
I'm not talking about experience that, no. Let me finish this. We are not here to talk about my experience.
Well, I mean, we just want something practical, not abstract. I mean, I just like to explore, like.
No, but we are in the theory class. We are not in the meditation class now, right? Sometimes the theory,
that Buddhism is absolutely practical.
Like I given a class about how to swim. We are not in the swimming pool now.
You actually do it in the pool.
No. Maybe you learn swimming already, but I'm teaching you about the theory of swimming, right? There are many things to talk about the swimming, and I tell you who's the opponent and so on. How's the water tension and what kind of water will be good for your swim, right? No, it's not. It's theory. This is theory class. Okay, it's nothing to do with the swimming. Like you really jump to swim. It's 2 different things. Now, I want to say that we have to understand this kind of. It is also because I need to explain why it is called disconjoined from the mind. Okay, it's a formation disconjoined from the mind. What does it mean? Using this as an example. The first one, the second Dhamma, is very hard to explain because when the people have never into this system, it's very hard. But let's say the third one. Everyone knows that when you do meditation, I mean, not everyone, say that, imagine that when somebody will do meditation, and then he has a power to use the mind, to uplift the mind into a first dhyana. And when in the first dhyana, the person are supposed to experience, there's a kind of feeling of like, bird flying, flipping the wing feelings, and then they definitely transform the mind into very, very calm, which is you don't experience in your life, okay? So that's the first jhana. And then from the first jhana, then you have to learn how to transform yourself into, how to shift yourself into second jhana or dhyana. Jhana is a Pali term. Let me just say dhyana. Shift yourself into the dhyana. So from the second dhyana, you have to transform yourself, and you need to abandon the 2 things, right? So, I mean, for those some study Abhidharma, don't tell me you don't know this. When you study Abhidharma, you have to learn by heart. This is very simple theory. You need to abandon the Vitakka, Vichara, okay? So, and then with these 2 rough things you abandon, so you enter in the higher jhana. So the second dhyana, so you feel much more joy, okay? Only joys because and then you abandon the joy, enter in the 3rd jhana, so you only experience the happiness, okay? Now, this is what here they say. This kind of the state of meditation state called idealist is in between the 3rd jhana because you abandon the 3rd jhana, you enter the 4th jhana, but you are not in the 4th jhana. You are in a different place. Okay, let me say that again. Let me say 4th jhana, what is this first? So in the 3rd jhana, you abandon the happiness, you will be enter in the 4th jhana. So in the 4th jhana, in the system, that your mind is just only in focus on one point. And at that time, especially if you're a beginner, beginner in a way means you are not very, very experienced, but you're a beginner into the 4th jhana, so you don't feel your breath. You're completely like a dead person. The breath gone. Okay. I need to stress this again. It means a beginner, but if a very advanced practitioner, you still know the breath. But for a beginner, the breath is almost gone. That's a 4th jhana. Okay. So okay. Now we know that now this called idealness attainment is very popular in the Buddha's time. It's not 4th jhana, it's not 3rd jhana. I need to repeat this again. It is when you abandon the 3rd jhana, you can enter some other place. The mental can be lifted. This is all mind, purely mind. It had nothing to do with the physical. Then you can enter in another kind of place called this place. At that time, what happened if you're in that place, you are not in the 4th jhana. Remember what I said, 4th jhana means you don't have a breath. But this one is called idealist because you have no concept arise. Okay.
But when I call it then the 7th, the nothingness or nothingness.
No. That is after 4th jhana.
I know that's arupa, but it sounds like that.
No. You couldn't say sound. No, they don't. You couldn't say sound. This is a very clear Buddhism definition.
So what is that state called in between the 3rd and 4th jhana?
I told you this idealist attainment.
Okay, but that's only
4.6.3.
But is that only the Sarvastivada school, or is it also?
No. All schools have this.
Okay.
I did say that is all schools have this. Now I want to use this as an example because Sarvastivada school put this the attainment, right? The meditation attainment into this formation, this conjoined. They have a reasons. Why? Now this is what we are going to talk. Because in this stage, you have no thought. Okay? You have no thought. When the thought cannot arise, you're almost like a dead person. But for in tradition, actually, according to Buddhists and from a Buddhist perspective, a lot of people think they attain nirvana also when they enter this kind of stage. And it's highly, especially in India, according to the Buddhist literature, a lot of people when they attend this kind of jhana, they think they attain nirvana, or some people even they think they attain emptiness. Those are wrong because they enter this kind of state. Okay, they are in between the 3rd jhana to the 4th jhana. And then also that's one thing. And also, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, a lot of people actually they enter this state, they think they enter emptiness, the sunyata. So that is also, that's for the Mahayana problem. Okay, but for the Indian, everybody know nirvana, but depend on what nirvana means by them. So they also thought this is as a state of nirvana. So I'm not here to discuss this very much now, but I want to say in Abhidharma system, the reason why they put it here, because when someone in that kind of state, when without thought, right? How you can explain? Somebody can in meditation, it has nothing. The thought would not arise. Mean your sanya, or 你的想运 in Chinese, mean your thought. You know you have the 5 aggregate. That the thought have the very basic function is to recognize something, right? The recognition, the cognitive or the connection, does not arise at all. So this kind of state is very clear, the state called idealist attainment. Okay, yes?
So that's with no dependent arising. That's why the matter doesn't exist here, because you don't see anything. It's simply the mind.
No, you don't even know you don't even know your mind.
Right, because you just mentioned that matter. If you see something, then your mind has to kind of recognize it. But in this state, that seizes completely.
Yeah, this is completely.
And it's just the mind itself where it just ceases to even think, or it's not dependent on something else.
Yeah.
But it's
And
just
that's why
like
it's
a temporarily
disconnected.
frozen. Like a temporarily it's frozen. It's not moving, it's like frozen there, temporarily.
Maybe you can say that. Maybe somebody could, I mean, it depends how you describe it. Of course, you can say like a frozen. But the main point is that because when the thought would not function there, how, according to the Abhidharma system, how do you put it?
Right. How do you then?
State,
Yeah.
right? That state.
Yeah, how do you put it?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So that's why they call it
Ideational.
Or you can say,
Ideas.
You could say you can translate as non-connect, because the word, if you look at the asanyi, okay, those who study Pali or Sanskrit, is very easy. You know the word sanya, Sanskrit is sanyi, okay, but the sanya means the what we call fire aggregate, the sanya, perception. So means negative form, means no perception. So the attainment of no perception. So when this attainment of no perception happened, you know what I'm saying is that now the thing it is in Abhidharma, they need to put it, because Abhidharma, they have to arrange the Dhamma, right? Put it in a different way. I just mentioned you have to put it, this kind of Dhamma because it's so popular. It's not like not popular one, you can ignore it, I didn't see it, right? But it's so popular. In meditation, it's so popular, and especially in those in India, actually even nowadays, it's believed that people will meditate in that stage also, like, I suspect, of course they don't have the term in Indian tradition, but I suspect that's what they were talking, that you meditate there for 1 month or long time, you don't appear, so that's why you can bury yourself under the place, and because they have no thought.
And this is where that breath is almost non-existent.
Yeah, the breath,
Breathing,
yeah.
you barely, very.
No, the breath is non-existent. It's a 4 jhana. You have this ability already.
But it's very subtle in terms of the breathing.
No. I said that already.
I mean?
In the 4 jhana has the same thing already. But this uniqueness is not because the breath is not existent. It's because the idea is not appear.
So
No.
how do you know after you come out of it, or is it something you? How do you?
Yeah, for this day we will teach you, and that's why this is a big
Because you read some of the literatures and monks say you should never go there. Some people say that because you don't know. So, but but then it's sort of like, I guess you don't know until you come out of it, and you say, oh, what was that?
No. Shall we bring back to the point? My point is that the reason why they put it here, okay, is because it's not directly connected to the mind, but it still functions in the mind, okay?
Right.
So, get it now?
It's in the middle way. Like the Buddha said.
Right.
No mind.
So, okay. But of course then there's so many different masters have a way to explain them. Like your question is, so then how they can arise from this samadhi, right? How they can arise from the attainment. And so some say even though it's not, but there's a subtle kind of mind appear there, okay? But the other will say, no, the other way to do that is because you had to make a determination when you want to appear, and that mind, that kind of this function, that's kind of disconjoint, but even though it disconjoint from the mind, but actually it still functions in a certain thing.
So the Pali system put it where?
No, Pali don't put it. Pali don't talk about that.
Don't talk about this.
No, Pali don't categorize this. It totally put it aside.
Let's go.
Pali don't. And but that's why this is one, okay. And the other one, you look at the next one called the number 4.6.4, the cessation attachment. They have a similar, the Nirodha Samapatti, right? Mm-hmm. They have a similar, in Chinese called 灭尽定 or 灭受想定. And you have 2 names. So the same thing. But the difference is that...
This is Sarupa, this is the 7th?
No. Listen to this first. They share the same similarity there. The similarity is that also when you enter that kind of state, the idea and even the feelings, of course idea and feelings can be together, they also not appear. Okay. But this is more advanced because this has to be, people who want to attend this, they have 2 conditions. One, he has to be a saint. Okay, according to Sarvastivada, he has to be a saint. According to the Pali, he's not only a saint, he at least has to be the anagami, the non-returner. Okay? But in the Chinese, I didn't do that big study of that. I'm not very 100% sure, but the definition is it has to be a saint. That's the first condition. Okay? But of course, it can be Arahant, it can be Buddha. Of course, Buddha always in this kind of state. That's clear in the Buddhist text. And the second, not only that he has to be a saint, and that person, that's a saint, has to be able to enter the jhana up to the highest jhana mean the arupa jhana, mean the formless jhana. You have the vastness of space, right? 空无边处 in Chinese. And then you have this vastness of consciousness. So it means you just only feel the consciousness begin expanding. And then the third one, there's nothingness. It's almost nothing is there. Okay. In other words, you removed the idea of vastness of space. You remove the ideas of vastness of consciousness, and then it's just nothingness there. Okay. You cannot talk about there's a space or no space. Okay. So that's the third one. That's called, because they don't belong to the form. That's why they call formless. And the last one is called neither perception nor not perception. So that's the last one. Okay. In other words, for those who want to enter this, maybe I should put one more condition. First condition has to be a noble person, at least it's yeah. And the second, it has to be attend to this the dhyana up to that neither perception nor not perception. And then the third, he must know vipassana. Okay, I should say three, not only two. Without these three conditions, he cannot enter this. Okay, but however, the topic here is this is still included in this so-called formation, this conjoined. The reason, as I just say, because no perception and feeling will arise. In other words, you are almost disconnect yourself from what we understand so-called the mind is about, but still functioning in the mind. Okay, no question now, right? Now you get more understanding.
No, but this part actually was covered in the Pali, right? In the Pali, like.
No, I mean the Pali don't categorize this in.
I know, but they have this part.
Yeah.
Right, as a disjoint, right? It doesn't have this kind of.
Yeah, you don't categorize in disjoint, but.
They do have this stage, basically.
Yeah, of course. I didn't say that there's no this stage in Pali. They do all have a this stage. And in Pali, of course, this is also a very popular stage.
But the difference that you said in the third and fourth jhana, that states that Pali doesn't talk about.
They talk about it. Even in Visuddhimagga talk about it.
Right.
Yeah, they talk about it. Visuddhimagga also. I mean, the path of purification text, Chinjin Daolun also talk about it.
So this person then is very close to nirvana then?
It is nirvana.
Oh, the cessation of attainment?
No, it's not. It is actually, okay. If you want just one more information, according to the Pali, not necessarily the Chinese, according to the Pali, if people have this kind of power, if they are the third, they are the anagami, mean they are the non-returner, and if they enter this power, this jhana, when they out of this jhana, they will become arahant. It's one of the way, almost like a shortcut. You could understand that, almost like a shortcut,
really?
how someone can attain the arahant. So, but there's still, as I say, there's a still controversial because the Pali didn't say it very clearly, but it implies that. But then in the Chinese, it didn't seem like they talk about that too. But I don't know. But anyway, that is beyond my understanding. But I just want to say that's in theory. Okay, get it. Now back to Abhidharma now. You have the idea first why this is included here. Okay, it's because functioning in the mind, but it doesn't actually have the direct connection to the mind. Get it now? Now then that's easier. Now we're back to the first and second. The first one is called acquisition, and then the second called non-acquisition. Of course, when you talk non-acquisition, then you have to understand what is acquisition. I mean, in Chinese it's called de, right? De and fei de. So the terms come acquisition because they argue that because there's some other school, like the school which is highly based on the sutra, they didn't agree with this idea. Why you want to put this acquisition? There's no need. They put their position. They put forth their positions by saying that the Buddhist text, like Agama text and the Nikaya, or you could say, they always talk about this acquisition there. So according to the Abhidharma system, you cannot ignore it. Get it now? For example, it say when someone having or possess of the good virtue, let's say there's an example like someone had possessed of the good virtue and he can proceed to fulfilling his jhana. Okay? Now the problem is that when you say someone possess something, what does this possess mean? What is this possess is about? When you say somebody is some vega in Sanskrit, mean 成就, huh? When you say somebody fulfilling something, what it is fulfilling is?
Change.
Huh?
Change.
It means you actually, it's also,
Alter.
you change the situation and you gain something too. You have something with you, right?
It's changed from before you don't have
And
the
then-
stage changes.
Yeah, but when you say you don't have, mean now we're back to what we say, there's acquisition and non-acquisition. So, but you have to talk non-acquisition because with the acquisition, okay? In other words, you gain something, you possess something. And especially this school, because they believe the Dharma has to exist all the time. Okay? So when you have this thing, and this thing itself will support you for you to have the next one. Okay, yes?
I kind of understand it as a knowing of something, because here it says a certitude for such an assertion is named acquisition, and that's 4.6.1, that's going back to 108. And it's the knowing of something is what's considered the acquisition. The non-knowing of something is the non-acquisition.
No, it's not knowing. Knowing is still have to do with the mind.
For me, it's very hard, the translation, and it's easier for me. It's like the certitude, it's being certain of something. When you assert it, when you're saying it, is the acquisition. It's that you're acquiring it. I know the word knowing is different in the way it's used in translation, but for me, it's the knowing of the thing is what's the affirmation of it. And then, of course, the opposite of it would be the non-knowing of it, the non-acquiring.
Yeah, but I think what I want to say that that's maybe the English translation. It will be work for. Say that English as your first language, but it definitely not working for the Sanskrit. And then because the Sanskrit is very well, the word knowing is namanti, right? It means. That's why it always is very important to study the original language. It helps you to clear so many things.
So what is it? What is it in Pali?
No, the word is prapti. The word is prapti. In Pali is a punnapati. Punnati. It means you gain something. You gain something. And the another word is that the Sanskrit word here, the right is called labha. Labhati. It means, let's say, I didn't have money, but then now I got money. Labhati. You acquire money. That's why acquisition. And in the third word, which is very common, especially for the mental part, for the spirituality, sammanvagama, actually. That is mean Chinese called 成就. You have fulfilling something. So let's say because you put away all the defilements, you have fulfilling, you acquire this calmness. So because you have abandoned all the defilements, and then you have fulfilling become the sand. So like that. So, but to this school, of course it may be a little bit interesting, depends how you look at it, but that's why some other people don't agree. Some other school during that time. But this is not our topic at the moment, what agree or disagree. Here I just want to say, it's actually is still included in the Dhamma called is disconjoined from the mind, okay? Understand it now? It's still disconjoined. The reason why they think this is important, of course, this is a big topic. Actually, this prapti is a big topic. Maybe the easier to say that is a kind of like, because let's say when you acquisition of the Dhamma, so for them, they be able to recognize, they have the process going on. Let's say they have 43 process going on. But anyway, there's a big topic. We don't want to go into that at the moment. Generally, I want to say is that the prapti, the concept of the acquisition here, just want to say if this is not there, you cannot talk a person, you cannot say it, you cannot tell, or you cannot guarantee that a person who has the attainment of like an arahant, or the first or the stream enter. Because you say, he abandoned all these things, or gained all this power, and then he fulfilled the
The endowment.
or he endow of I become or he fulfill the this stream enter. So, but how can you ignore this? He fulfill, he endow this as a stream enter. You can ignore this one. It's just as if, like just we mentioned, the meditation when the people can enter the state of so-called idealist meditation state, attainment, so they are in that kind of attainment, but the mind is not functioning almost. That means, in other words, mean the thought doesn't arise at all. So, right? So, so anyway, it's a similar concept. Now, I understand now? Okay, that's easier. Good.
Seems like everything works.
Of course, they well thought about that already.
It's a different way of saying things.
But then, of course, when you look at more about the acquisition, you have to understand the acquisition can be the pure, impure, and neutral, right? So we said that already. And then the acquisition, in general, you can understand it's like the acquisition can be of the without this outflow, with the outflow too, right? Without outflow mean people have become a sainthood already. With the outflow means still like a mundane people, right? And then also acquisition usually have a three type. I just give you a rough guide, I guess. Like I think it should be, where is it? 1.5, you know, 0.15, okay?
Which one?
4.6.
0.1.5.
Page 109.
But I don't have this page. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. So no, not this one. Actually, I want to say is that 4.6.1.3, right? So the acquisition is two types. No, not two types. Yeah, the two types I just mentioned. Sorry, let me look at it. So don't.
Bhante, what do they mean by dominance?
Okay. Yes. Huh?
What do they mean by dominance? It's not like the Buddhist teachings. What is it? Truth? Is it
Phenomena.
what is
Anything is Dharma. Everything.
anything?
Anything.
Thought, anything?
Yeah. Anything that you can experience. Maybe easier to say that way.
So would it be the same as phenomena?
You could translate phenomena if it's purely mental, but if it's a material, you still can experience material, so you cannot just sort of say phenomena, right? But if you are in the Yogacara school, Wei Shi Zhong, of course, then they could say that is still phenomena, but it's not in the Hinayana Abhidharma, no. Because you still can experience the material, but at least in the Abhidharma system, they don't argue like a Yogacara school. What you experience is still is your idea. So that's why translate a phenomena sometimes not agree with the Abhidharma system. That's the reason why when you read some people's translation, you know he's influenced by what. No, in Abhidharma don't. Because in Abhidharma, this is material. If I can experience this is also Dharma, right?
But you are experiencing it just by touching it.
No. I just say that my eyes, even touching, they're right. Say a touching, my body touching. This is a posture, contact, right? So I experience this material. So this is you could say that the down to earth material is the four elements, right? The hardness, I can feel the hardness, right? I could feel the softness. I could feel that rough or smooth, right? This is still experience, but this is not Yogacara school. Yogacara have a different way. So don't mix up the Wei Shi Zhong. It's different way of understanding it. Just a subtle way, because in the Yogacara, they want to emphasize even this is still because of your mind. That's why they call idealism, in Yogacara. No, but in Abhidharma, no, it's very clear. This is matter. This is also Dharma. Okay. Get it now? Where we are now? Oh, yeah. And then, it's actually 4.5. That's true. They say there are three kind of the praptic, right? There are three kinds of acquisition, right? acquisition which correlates with the Dharma acquisition, like a shadow which follow the figure, and the second one, acquisition which are anterior to the Dharma acquired, like the leading bull. The third one, acquisitions, like a calf which follow behind, right? So, so in other words, mean the first one, so it's like a shadow always with you, the acquisition. It's like, generally means that, let's say you were born in anywhere, that's you gain something, you don't gain something, you gain this, you gain that, you get this. This means always with you, right? And the second one, when you say what does it mean like a bull go first, it's like when somebody reborn, right? When somebody reborn. So let's say you reborn from one place to another place, right? That is like a bull. That's that you have the acquisition of the good. Let's say you have the acquisition of the good karma, so and then that's why you're born to the good place, right? Like a bull. And then the third one is that the acquisition is afterwards. Mean like something follow after, like a small calf follow the cow. It's like when you learned, like today you study. By hearing, you learn something. And then after this, it's nothing to do with what you hear, what I said, or what the book said, but you think about it, right? That is purely your understanding, reflection. So those are still is acquisition. By hearing, you get something, right? You understand something, you gain something. But then by reflecting, you gain something. And the end, and then by meditation, because that's directly meditation, you could see it. It's not like theory. You really can see, is that true? Is there 4 elements? Is that that's hardness, the softness, and so on? Say that's for material. So in other words, by meditation, so then you gain the kind of wisdom. The gain itself is also acquisition. So that's why I say one can be after, sometimes can be like right now, like I have worry, I don't have worry, I'm pure, I'm not pure, right? Or it can be like when somebody say like, because I have this, so that will help me to be reborn in this place and that place. So that's why it's called 3 types of acquisition. Get it now? So, but then anyway, you could understand one way that acquisition is very abstract now, abstract concept. But I don't think that I like to talk it this way. Just say the abstract. Everything is abstract. If anything you don't have experience, but it's important to say that is that it's still functioning. Within, according to Sarasvati, within us, in the mind, okay? But it's not done by the, I couldn't say not done by the mind. It's in the mind, but it should be understand the very moment of the acquisition or any moment of the Dharma we're talking, it does not belong to the mind, okay? It's beyond the 2 things. It's not belong to material, but it's not belong to the mind. It should be disconnected from the mind, but it's functioning in the mind, okay? Like I just mentioned, the meditation state is mind, purely mind. But you in that kind of state, you cannot say that's mind there, according to this school. Okay, let's move on, I guess, because we need to finish and give a little break first. And then let's go to the number 5 one. Is that number 5 one?
You just finished 5.
Yeah. But I think number 5 one is number 6 one. Okay, number 6 one. The number 6 one, the vital faculty, Ming Gen. Of course, this is in Pali Abhidharma, they do have that also. Okay. I don't know the page, but you could look at 4.6.6.1. 4661, okay? That's the Jivi Indriya, in Chinese called Ming Gen, okay? The vital faculty, or something we say life faculty, we translate. So, of course in Abhidharma and Pali system, they like to translate because they think this life faculty is in the rupa, is in the form, okay? That's the Pali system. But the Sarasvati does not include this in the form. It's included as disconjoined from the mind. Okay. Huh? But if you put this like a Pali, if you put that, if you categorize this one in the form, its material is much easier to explain, because that's how nowadays people sometimes they tend to explain that way. The Jivi Indriya, I mean the life faculty, is like a DNA, or no DNA, like a chromosome, okay? No, not chromosome, like a DNA. Sorry, the chromosome is the sex faculty, I mean the female or male. So because the Pali system is included in the material. Of course, according to the Pali understanding, if you let's say when you meditate, look at your eyes, and then from you have the iris, right? It's not your eyes functioning the seeing; it's the iris functioning the seeing. But look at the iris, mean the inside there's a kind of I forgot the name. Cornea. Yeah, you have to look. You have to go inside the cornea there. And according to the Pali system, you have to look at the eyes. If you just take the eyes, visualize the eye, it's just like what we call the practice of impureness meditation. But if you do this inside meditation, you have to look at the eyes inside, and then you will see the inside, they have a kind of particles there. And then there's a kind of particles which is sensitive to the light. And then that is that when there's a sensitive to the light, then each of the particle will be consist of the 4 elements. You know what is 4 elements. And then they also have the nutrition. They must also have you could smell it. If you want to smell, you could feel the contact of it, okay? And then they have the color, okay? 4 things. Besides that, then you also can check it, 2 things, but I don't want to say too complicated. But back to this, I mean, you still can check there's a life or no life. That's why it's called the life faculty. In other words, I mean, it's very clear to Pali system. When you do meditation, the one when you talk the life faculty is only, in other words, you could see whether that material that you could observe, how do you say? Because this term, life faculty, is talking to Buddhist text, right? A person still have the life and so on. So that's why you can check it through this way in Pali, in the form, material. Get it now? Hello? But in Sarvastivada, I don't know how they practice, because this method lost. You have to understand Sarvastivada, this method, the practice of this system is completely lost, I mean in this school. But however, I want to say that here, in this system, that's the life faculty being understood is a kind of also disconjoined from the mind, okay? Get it now? Yeah, it becomes almost like you say. You could say it's almost like a concept, but they don't deny the existence of it. But Pali is very clever. If you put in the material,
here it's 3 things, right?
Hmm?
It's the,
No. The 3 things means that because in the sutra say that
It's the vital faculty. It is the life principle of 3 spheres of existence. Is that it has substantial essence and sustains heat, consciousness, and
yeah, because that's how the sutra always say. The sutra always says that when there's a life, how do you understand that when a person really die or not, right? It's because 3 things has to be gone. One is a life, one is a heat, one is a consciousness. Now what about this life it mean? As I just said, the Pali system is life is in the material. Okay?
And the Sarvastivada is disjoined from
Yeah, the Sarvastivada is a disjoint from the mind. Okay. But as I also said that also, I don't know how they practice it, whether they have a way to understand it, I don't know. Or can just pure concept, I don't know. But in Pali it's very clear. It believes that in the Pali system you could check it whether there's a life faculty there or not. Okay? Because the Pali system put that in the material.
So, but why is this then Sarvastivada includes that in here?
Don't ask me. They are the one who include. They are the Arahant. They are. I don't know why they include. This is back to the Buddha passed away a few hundred years, and more than 2,000. More than 2. You could understand that way. Maybe their science.
I channel them in.
Yeah, you can understand in those days that the science knowledge is different. I don't know. You know. Okay. But anyways, but there's a debate. And now I don't find this debate interesting, because when you learn the Pali and you find there's just a different way of talking, understand it. But of course, in the other school like Saravati School and South Atlantic, they debate, all these the concept of the life faculty. What does it mean? Okay. Anyway, let's move from the number 7. It's called the homogeneity. Okay, it's a very common term you use either in Tibetan school or any Mahayana school or even in all the Abhidharma school in Chinese system especially. And you don't use this term in Pali also at all. So that's the 中同分. Okay, that's the very commonly used. What does it mean? The group homogeneity is the cause for the similarities, among the sentient beings. Okay, basically it means something that common there, so called is homogeneity. Like we have the homogeneity being a human, right? And because as a human, you still have craving, you still need food to eat, right? So we still have the karma, and that's being called a homogeneity. But we don't share the same homogeneity. We don't have the same homogeneity like to the animals, right? Okay, you know what I'm saying, like that. The homogeneity is just a kind of almost like a concept tool, as I say. It means something, there in the kind of Dhamma, which is disconnect from the mind. And you could say, usually when you say concept, it's still with the mind anyway. So disconnect from the mind because it exists there, but they share the same thing being called a homogeneity.
So this one is a gene, it's a DNA, because you analyze.
If it's DNA, that would be the form.
It's not the DNA.
I mean, not this school, we will not agree with you. No. If it's DNA, it would be the but in Pali we don't have this. The Pali doesn't have this homogeneity. Okay. But this is a common term. Sometimes they just talk like, why these people will stay in the hell and then they will all punished? Then the answer would be because there's a homogeneity. that people in the hell they got to be punished like that. You could say.
Defilements because they have defilements.
Yeah. So so that's anyway. Just remember this. But it's very common language in Tibetan. When you read the Tibetan Shastra literature, or you read any, in Chinese or certainly in Sanskrit also, which, as I say, because actually this school highly influenced all the others, Buddhism. So and this homogeneity is been. But you have to understand what the homogeneity to them. It is not a language. Okay. It is something that they think exists there. But it's not, the way it exists is also beyond the idea, or beyond what we call the concept can understand. Okay, no, that means you cannot experience like idea. Okay, it's dissociate from the mind. Okay. All right, and then the other thing that we take a break before. Let me just finish this first. So there's other 4 things. Then they also, it's almost like it's always there. What are they? The 4 things. That means they're function of each of the Dhamma. Okay. So that's why we come to 4.6.8, right? When Dhammas are produced, when any Dhamma are produced, there is a force of internal cause which makes them achieve their specific function. Every Dhamma have the common function, but there's a specific function. It is this internal cause that is called the production characteristic. That's what we sometimes call, there is 生相, that means arising, the production characteristic. And then, but the production characteristic can be understood internal, external. I think this is a little bit too complicated. Maybe just to say that, I want to say, generally mean, look at it. This is 4.6.8 and then 0.9 and then 0.10 and then 0.11. It means every Dhamma when they arise, that's 1. Okay, it will stay, and then it will, and and then it will change. I think it does deteriorate. Here to translate, it will change some. It will deteriorate. It will be going to broken or be going to deteriorate, and then it will vanish, or you could say that it will finish, or it will be it's impermanent, it's vanished. So in other words, mean that is also, and this school included, take this four kind of the Abhidharma as a, how to say, as a kind of a so-called formation of disconjoint. Okay.
So there's four characteristics, which is it's deteriorates, it's impermanent, and what is the other one? Temporarily stays. Temporary duration. And what is the fourth one? There's three.
Limited impermanence, stay in. The arising.
Arising? Okay, arising.
Stay in. Or here what translate it?
Duration.
Yeah, the duration. And then the third one is mean the deterioration.
Okay, arising, duration, deterioration, impermanence. Okay, that's one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The impermanent here refer to mean the ceasing, mean the broken, everything is gone, the ceasing. So therefore, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But here they translate 无常, okay. Anityata. So and therefore, but what about the Pali? Anyone? Before answer this question, you're allowed to have a break.
3.
No. Yeah, the Pali, you're right. The Pali talk 3 only. So that means the Pali only talk 3: the arising, the changing, and then the ceasing. Okay. But in this school, Saravastivada, you can say that you add more, one stay in or duration. Okay. But no, but I still want to know what about the Pali? How they include this one? The Pali Abhidharma. Anyone?
Stay.
No. This they have 3, but they include it also in Abhidharma.
Included
In where? Which
class?
Which class?
All of them.
What do you
Except
mean?
Nirvana.
That's a very clever answer. Of course, I cannot.
course.
I
I'm
cannot.
your student, what can I
I cannot say that's wrong answer though, because except Nirvana and then it including the formation.
Because it talks about rupa and then mind and then.
Why don't you put it? What about whether it's in the Jaitasika or in the mind factors or mind concomitant or mind association or the mind or the material? You said that clearly already. There's no Nibbana. It's not including the Nibbana. Okay, fine. So what about the 3? Which one? Where?
It applies to all of them. I don't know. I've never read the Pali Abhidharma. Well, I read a little bit with Vigavadita.
Anyone? Not that you read it. Just guess.
I just got the simplest. Rupa.
Okay,
That's
your
not
answer is it include in the matter, right? In the material. Anyone? Don't remember now. Actually, the Pali, huh?
是想吗？西方可以给里面那个想。
No, but if even the Xiangyun, the Xiangyun still include in the Jaitasika in Pali. It's in the my association.
My association.
Mm.
So it's a meditation.
No, I mean in Pali there are only 4 classes, right?
Oh, yeah.
They don't have these changes, so let's see. Well, I guess, I don't know, they apply all of them, so I don't know why you're asking us to...
No, because there's a good way. You see, look at this one. This is actually, they take this here. They don't take this in the matter,
So what
right?
about if we just say mental factors? No? Or mind? I mean, to me, it applies all 3.
No, actually, the Pali included both, the material and the mental factors. Okay.
Partial.
But in this school, they only categorize this here. Okay. These 4 kind of phenomena. In other words, according to this school, when one Dhamma arises, okay, you can understand the arising of the Dhamma in other 4 aspects there too, okay, or other 3 aspects. It means there's a 4 aspect of one Dhamma arise, okay, or not arise, of a Dhamma exists. There are 4 aspects from it, okay.
Believe them, I believe
Okay.
them.
No, it's not. In the future, you slowly know. Okay, if you have a breakfast, it looks like you almost gone mad already, gone crazy. Take a little break first. 5 minutes. Thank you.
We better get Nirvana after this class.
All right, sorry to rush you guys because I want to finish this one because this is I think we don't need to learn like in a very detail at the moment, but at least just.
We feel like it's like a big schematic thing.
I always give the big schematic already, so you should be getting better and better.
I see the big thing together. It says Nirvana, the goal.
No, that's your responsibility to see if we catch big picture after
I'll
class.
settle for my head to stop spinning.
Okay, let's.
Expand your mind. Good.
All right,
Let us
now
know.
we have understand there are 11 of them already, right? Like the acquisition, non-acquisitions, the ideation of the attainment, or even the state of ideations, and then also the so-called Nirodha Samapatti, which is the very advanced or meditation state, mean the cessation of the feelings and the thought, and then you also have 4 of the kind of phenomena of the Dhamma, right? And then also there's one of the called homogeneity. So, and now we've come to there's a 4 type of, basically there's a group of words, there are 3 of them. So they are, it's interesting that even the words here, it's the word itself, not the sound. The sound is belong to, of course, the material, right? But the words in this school is belong to the formation disconjoined from the mind, okay? So generally mean what it is word, because one reason why they had to put this because in the sutta they say that, the sutta also said that, let me see, I couldn't find that, the translation. But anyway, the Buddha, they mentioned that, the Tathagata acquires such and such groups of words, phrases, and syllables. I mean, the Buddha have such a.
Where are you?
The 4.6.12.
118.
It did say that the Tathagata has a kind of this acquired such and such groups of words, phrases, and syllables. So this refers to those pertaining to the Dhammas unique to the Buddha, obtained by the Tathagata. Of course, everything is the Buddha has, of course, that you definitely cannot be neglected in the tradition. So anyway, so what are these? Generally means that, this group. So what does a word mean? The word means the nama, okay? Means like, when you have, in the word is mean word, like there's a cat, there's a person, there's a what, those are the words. And the phrase is referred to, when you have a concept of from the sentence, like he is a bad person. So he is a bad person. The word bad depends on how you understand it, but then the person is bad. He is a wise person, and then that's wise. This sentence is very difficult to understand. So the difficult to understand the sentence, you have the concept there, right? So this is called the phrase because it's come from the phrase. When you see the word is more like a noun and adjective, it could say good, bad, and one is more like an idea, you have the concept. But this is, it's interesting, they also say this is disjoined from the mind. And the last one called the syllabus, called Vyanjana, is mean like, when you learn to pronounce a word like Chinese, ma, like that, But of course in Pali, it will be ga, nga. In Sanskrit, it will be like the same thing, like ga, or if in Tibetan, ga, nga, or like that. And those are the syllables. No, I did learn a little. So, but I mean like that, and then you it's like Japanese I, E, U, E, O, Kaki, Kuke, Ko, like that, right? So right, I don't want to show off my language now. I don't even know Spanish how they do it. but I just know you can pronounce Spanish like with the way, like when we learn Malay. When we, oh yeah, you're right. That's right. Yeah, that's so similar. Yeah, but like, you know what I mean by that. So like if you learn Thai, ko kai, go gai, something like that, and then so they have a way. Those are called the syllables, but I have to say I don't really, because I'm never interested in very much of this concept, but I want to say I don't really know why they have to want to put it this. But for disjoin the mind, I don't know. Maybe for the linguistic people can tell me. Russell, Professor Russell, can you tell me what do you think? Why do you think this is destroyed from the mind? The words, the sound. The sound, no, they are not talking about sound. It's very clear sound is material. But it's from the sound, you have this concept of that is a kind of thing. They say it's disconjoined from the mind.
Words, phrases, and syllables.
I don't know, only for people who study language, maybe they kind of have come up to idea why they can put it this way. Any explanation?
I think that because if I think about that I'm speaking English, then I just cannot speak it very well. But if it's automatic and unconscious, then it just happens. But if I think every single word that I have to say, then I wouldn't be able to speak English.
Only that.
Like an involuntary response.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of an automatic.
It couldn't be just involuntary, but it should be something there. They believe there's something there, almost like innate. You know the word innate, right? It almost like innate.
Yeah, they say grammar is something innate, they say.
Yeah.
Grammatical things that we learn, the brain has the structures we learned. Automatically, innately, we can learn grammar because it's available to us.
Maybe another way of looking at this, when you look at the non-human animals, they also, communicate and make sounds, right? Dolphin or monkey, but I don't know whether you would make that kind of, division between that.
So you think that they also can make phrase, like a sentence?
Or communicate through sound, like a dolphin, right? Or a certain fish, So, but what I'm wondering is whether...
Not complex.
But we've tried.
But it depends. Birds can have 20 different songs.
But we don't know.
Communicate with.
But we've identified it as words, and
It's still very complex.
because they give the example of fire, and
Have to learn
it has a certain significance when a person yells fire, and that's what we've attached it. But there might be a language, as you said, with the words that we do not know.
We don't understand.
And we don't understand. There could be a definition or a particular sound that identifies a bear that's coming towards them or something. Just language.
But communication, apparently, 70% of it is unconscious, is body language, and 30% is on words.
But your question is the disjointed part, right?
Yeah.
Mind,
Yes, yeah.
right?
That's word.
Words,
right?
word phrases, and syllables.
Phrase and syllables.
It's like, when that's why he said that, like when you say the word fire, but we understand the fire, but we don't burn our mouth. Right? If it's material, the word fire you will burn our mouth.
Well,
Wow.
under hypnosis, you can. I mean, it's proven. Somebody burnt a cigarette, and then they had to burn.
But, on the
But
other
that's
hand,
not the case of.
They have maybe they say the stick and stone cannot hurt you, but then the words sometimes they could really inflict much suffering, more than the physical, right?
Okay, then that in other words that also somehow explain that it's kind of like also can explain that there might be some innate there, like it's not material, but it also not necessarily with the mind, but it's also functioning in the mind.
Because I was doing some work. When you look at the people who work with what's considered violence against women, it's not just a physical. A lot of times they will even consider certain type of words and certain type of things as being a part of the violence. So obviously it has a material effect on the person. Just the sound itself. And the word, certain kind of words or
A guttural utterance can be
Right.
frightening to someone, which has no significance to anyone. When you go, oh, you know, and a person gets frightened, so I agree with you. And that's not necessarily innate, that's something that's, but, so question in 46.14, it talks about the aggregates and the four truths and the three jewels. And these are the core.
Sorry, can you say the question 4.6 point?
4.6.14b. So there is scriptural evidence to prove that these three dharmas are real. Thus the great sage has said, equals when the Tathagata.
Oh, okay, I see, I know.
So when you read further down, and the question here is, it says, let me see what was it. This refers to the four truths about and the three jewels and the spheres and the fruit of the ascetics and the conditioned co-arising. So again, it says that acquire such and such groups of words, phrases. This refers to those pertaining to the dharmas unique to the Buddha, obtained by them. So it is conditions arising. I mean, you have to, I think the words and the syllables and phrases are important in order to put forth the Dharma.
Yeah, but because I think important is say that that's why I think the translator also put this evidence here. So it's just evidence to prove those Dharma are the real one. Because they're important, of course, because the Tathagata, when he say this way, it refer, you know, because when the Tathagata has arise in the word, there are the groups of the words and phrases and syllables which can be known.
So in order to understand the Dharma and the dependent arising, you have to understand, you have to use words.
You have to use words, you have to use phrases, yeah. Yeah, and the sound, yeah.
And of course, and then, you know, and then let it go.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You have to know it and then not know it. So that's why they find it necessary. It's part of the conditioned arising.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So. Okay. It's almost time. I don't think we should prove the last one, the fifth one. We are going to end off almost the text at the moment. The fifth one will be the next one will be the category of consciousness, right? And then that very short one is just only define what consciousness is, right? And then I will ask you a question maybe next time. But after this consciousness, then it's a short. It's not a short actually. Right. I think it's because they also take some part to talk about their 5 fruits and the 4 conditions. Okay. So, and when you go back home, I think if you can, at least try to read this until this the 5 up to this 5x.2.4, or that means 5x.3, mean that all conditions. You don't. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah. Okay. And then we have 2 more, I think, maybe actually I guess we maybe about 3 more classes or 4 more classes. Maximum will be 4 classes, will be end of the text. But then by ending of the text, we have to summarize the whole thing again, the past system, and you know, at least I don't want you just finish the text and you don't know the structure, but you still understand the structure and summarize the whole past system, what they are trying to talk about. And I don't know, and one other thing that we need to consider, what is the next one we need to learn, okay? So after...
Is there a next one?
I thought we reached the
Absolutely, we did, you know, the sutta.
You become
we didn't cover the Vinaya.
Is there going to be a final?
Visuddhimagga and Abhidharma is the ultimate. What else could you ask?
Actually, I'm thinking about to have an examination also.
We're going to be disjoint mind. We're going to be disjoint mind for the exam.
That's a good part. So
That's going to get a write down.
because you say, I couldn't have the thought comes along. Okay.
Maybe you should just start over.
Okay. Well, we still have 1 minute. I mean, I want to know what. Hello, just a moment. I still have 1 minute. Do you have question about what we, at least, you don't have to know everything exactly now. At least you know that that's, I need to conclude this. There's one kind of Dharma classes in the Saraswati called the formation disjoint from the mind. And then you somehow, even you don't remember all, but you somehow know that what are they, you know. And as for what reasons, I mean, they said that reason already, very clear, because they're destroyed from mind. Yes, you have questions? Yeah.
Is it true that, let's go back to syllables, every form of life, when, I mean, they know they have to associate with symbols, or either in verbally or in nature, the sound or the picture. For survival, they were taught by the parent.
I didn't, I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
They have the instinct of learning, or the ability to recognize when it's dangerous or to survive, to get food.
Yeah, and then?
And they have to associate, or they have to learn to associate symbols.
Like parents and kids, they communicate using the symbol to, you know, to teach their youngsters, you know, what is danger, you know, something like that. Even the animals, right?
Yeah, is it actually?
Yeah, but I don't know the question. That is it relate to our Abhidharma? Maybe can you tell me, is there anything relation to the Abhidharma? Of course, this is just a you know, it's in so-called psychology also. They have a kind of like, maybe your question is almost like a so-called, you can check on something called logo. It means the simple logo. So it kind of like, you know, appearance. I don't know whether you're talking the same thing, but you can think that's like, you know, appearance actually is almost like a logo. When you say a teacher, you have a logo, a kind of symbol there. But of course, in psychology, they have much more deeper meaning than that. I don't know whether that's something to do with the Abhidharma. It might be. I cannot connect it to this at the moment. But your question is, I still didn't get a question. So yeah, it's
so profound.
Well, I kind of agree. He kind of mentioned you're born with certain things which are innate, which are fear.
Oh, I see.
Things, and then there are things that are taught. And I think you were asking, is it the same thing? That was one of the things you said. Is it similar to that? So what's innate, what's learned by the parent, what's taught by the parent, I should say.
What's been learned to associate or to disjoint.
To disjoin. Oh, so that part you gotta ask him. That part, I disjoin the mind. So is it the same thing?
What is disjoint from a mind?
The parents teach the kids away from like the animal. They also have this capability, right?
I think if it's for the language sake, it definitely in this school they think this is disjoint from the mind. I mean, that's kind of, because you have to understand it, because they believe that every Dharma exists, okay? Every Dharma exists, even our understanding of every Dharma can be conditioned, but every Dharma exists. They have a nature existent there. So even when somebody gives you a word like, you know, understanding like, you know, oh, you are not well, you don't look nice, you don't look well, right? And I mean, you look ill. So that is something to the school. I mean, this exists. I think that's what they want to try to say. It has the something, really something there. But you know, functioning by a person through your body or language, but you know, your idea, you give your idea, but the people can get the idea. Maybe that's what it is, I guess. So yeah, okay. As I say, I'm not very well in the linguistic, but I think because you have to understand in Indian tradition, the language and grammar is a big part of their study. And I don't know well because of that. As I say, it's to Indian tradition, the language is always a big part, far bigger than the Chinese way you understand the language. Because the Chinese, you study the language like, for example, like Chinese, you may study Chinese. Even in ancient time, you look at it, you learn, you recite by heart, you learn how to write a poem, recite a poem, whatever, blah, 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 this and that. But you never really learn grammar. But the Indian, always grandma, 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 and the nature of the language. Because one thing is that they believe the language comes from the God. So I think they must have much more meaning in that with that kind of language. You know, they really take that very, very serious. So for Chinese, it's very common. The language is just a language. It's just you love the language, but I don't know. But linguists always don't think that way too. I mean, I know linguists have a different perspective. So okay, I hope that answers a little bit of your perspective. I cannot answer you that question, especially I cannot understand also from the Indian perspective, because as I say, they take the language very serious, the way that more than you understand. Yeah. Okay, right. Thank you for the online friends. I will see you next week, and we are so glad that we are approaching to the end of the text anyway. So do the transfer of marriage.
Transfer of marriage. Okay.
อาคาสัตตาชกุมมาตาเทวานากามหินติกา
Punyantang anumoditva chiran rakantu sasanan chiran rakantu mamparanti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. 一个都听不懂。你们听见没？ Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
你也可以站这里没关系，站馆。